War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live. We are here on another Wednesday night. You know what that means is our Auburn family live stream where you dictate the topics, the comments, the questions, the derogatory rebuttals. This show is about you, by you, and for you, and what you want to discuss on this stream tonight. So thank you for joining us, whether you are watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, whether you're watching here on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, however you got here. We very much appreciate you being here and spending your time with us because it is very valuable. And we appreciate you out of all the choices that you have out there for just content in general, but Auburn content, that you spend some time with us, however you got here tonight. As I addressed, this is Wednesday night, and we will make this kind of a just informal as usual, bounce around to a lot of different topics and conversation points. And we'll get into some of that here in just a second. And we'll open up our phone lines in just a little bit as well and tell you how to take advantage of that. But right now, what I'd love for you to do to start off every show, we use it as our check-in period to post where you're watching from, city, state, international. Post that right now so we know who's here, where you're watching from. Always love to see, obviously, the people from around the Southeast, but those international and those from around the country that are tuning into the show. So do that for us with a War Eagle, however you'd like to say hello and get started off on the night tonight. Just go ahead and do that right now. I will go ahead and open the phone lines before you say hello to a few people that are already popping in there. So if you want to take advantage of our call-in link tonight, it's brought to you by our friends at allthingsauburn.net. We'll talk about them a little bit later in the show, but they are presenting the call-in show for you tonight. If you want to take advantage of that, it's at the top of the chat. Click on that. You can be on camera, off camera, however you'd like to be, whatever you're most comfortable with. It is up to you on what you would like to take advantage of in what format. So do that if you'd like. All right. With that being said, let's say hello to a lot of the folks that are already here tonight. A lot of people checking in already. The Big Ten West. What does that have to do with anything, Teddy? Teddy checking in. Rob, Bill, Linda. Let's see. Brian's here. Good to see a lot of you already here checking in tonight. Lake Martin always sounds good, Linda. In Minnesota. I always forget that Brian's in Minnesota. Are you really in Minnesota? That's just, it's so weird to hear Auburn fans in Minnesota, but I know that we're everywhere. I've met them all over the place. Let me move this up here so it's actually a little bit more conducive to doing a good show. Rob asked right off at the front, anyone going to Athens? No. I would imagine a lot of people are probably going, but not the typical amount. You know, let me go ahead and remind you guys off the top, we're not having a preview show tomorrow. I will be on the road traveling to elsewhere, not Athens. So I will not be able to do a preview show this week. And I know it seems convenient given the nature of the game and the expectations, but that is the real reason why. Some other family stuff got to travel to this weekend. But I would actually love to go to Athens even a year like this. I have not been to that stadium yet to see an Auburn game, even if it was going to be an Auburn game that's probably not going to go well for us just by using the conventional understanding of what's going on right now for both teams and in college football this year. I would go if I could, because it's not too far of a drive for me. I've yet to go. I have a goal to go to every single SEC stadium, probably knocking Vanderbilt off the list next year. So I would if I could. Will anyone be in Oxford next Saturday? Well, if you're asking, Rob, that in reference to what may be coming down the line, I don't think that that's going to deter anybody from going at this point. People have already decided if they're going to the game or not for the most part. I have a feeling there'll be a decent showing still in Oxford, just probably not in Athens. 2 weeks. I guess it would be 2 weeks from this game. Good to see a high fly. Corey checking in from already. Checking in from you already know, Kyle. But they don't know. That's the whole point. They got to know where you're checking in from, right? So post where from. Some people are going to a concert. Interesting. I always get distracted by the side conversations that happen here, but that's just the nature of doing a show like this. And I love hearing what you guys and see what you guys are saying. Of course, nearby, Neil. All right. Yeah, obviously, right off at the start, the main focus obviously shifts to Auburn football versus Georgia. Speculation about that, what comes after it, obviously we can hit a lot of that tonight. I'm hoping that we'll get a lot of the keyboard warriors that came after me this week on social media. I would really love to see some of them here, hear some of them calling. I just doubt that that's going to happen though. You call someone a keyboard coward and they get real offended. It's always funny to me because the people that respond that way, that obviously shows that kind of struck a nerve with you. And that probably means that you're part of the problem. There's nothing wrong with venting frustrations. It's the way you do it. So I would really love to see if we could get some of them in here tonight, but I doubt we will. And I figured this as well was going to be brought up tonight. If you want to, well, I'm watching the UCF USM game. The color analyst just said Herb Hand is one of the best offensive line coaches in America. Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with that one, just based off our short time with him. Here's the funny thing about coaches, right? Doesn't matter if it's an assistant coach, GA, head coach, whatever. Everybody is going to have a different perspective on them. We do not have a good perspective of Herb Hand because of the situation that we are in now. And effectively, that's Gus's fault, but still that, kind of falls back on Herb Hand as well. He was known for being a great recruiter, which is why I was excited for him. It just did not work out here for us, at least in the sense of what they were trying to do with those particular guys. They did recruit very well. It just didn't work out. So Gus can have him over at UCF. I hope they have great success, but it will probably be one of those mistakes that he makes again, unfortunately. Let's see here. The game intrigues me because UGA is in a weird place. How so, Rob? Neil, sorry, got distracted. Neil, how is the game intriguing because it's in a weird place? Like, what do you mean for UGA? Simply because of the Missouri game? There's a lot of people, in my opinion, put too much weight on that Missouri game. Everybody can have an off game. I don't know if that's what you're getting at. Maybe if you got another reason, let me know. We will catch UGA slipping for the W. Interesting. Do you truly mean that, Corey? I hope so. Listen, I am one that believes that Auburn has the capability and will go into it believing that we can win, just knowing what the reality probably is going to be. And I think that's a very healthy way to approach this, especially any game, but a game like this is understanding the context of what is potentially going to happen in this particular game. How is it that Auburn has had problems on the O-line for almost a decade? It makes zero sense. I disagree with you, Neil, that they've had problems for over a decade. It's really been the last 4 to maybe 5 years. It is this, unfortunately. I hate saying this every single time because, I know some players and families that watch this, and I know probably gets around to them, but like this group just has not worked. And it's ironic that it's 4 to 5 years. I don't know what you're talking about a decade. Offensive line has been probably not outstanding. The last great offensive line that I could remember was the 2013-14 year in terms of production and things like that. But maybe some of those things were masked by other athletes. You never know. Russell, yeah, it would be interesting to watch the Auburn family combust if he somehow pulls off this win. It would be an interesting dynamic. My feeling is, though, and this is not a hint that I have some inside information or whatnot. I think what's done is done, and you just kind of whatever happens, just be thankful or sad about it at this point. UGA, Mizzou, Kent State. So you're talking about a pattern, not just one game. That's a fair statement. I can get on board with the pattern that Kent State kind of gave them a little bit more than they probably should have. I don't know. I feel like Georgia, we are their biggest rival. We are, let's just be honest. Georgia Tech is not their biggest rival anymore. It never will be until they figure out themselves. And of course, they're going through a coaching search right now. So this game means a lot to them, and they're going to be ready to put the wood to us. Now, we can potentially do the same thing. Again, we should have never been in the Iron Bowl last year. Never, ever. No chance. And somehow we found a way. It was at home, granted, but I believe we can, show up and do something magical. It's probably not likely, though. Good to see you, Clint. Devin checking in. Corey does believe. And listen, this is what I hope you guys know too when you hear me. For those who've been a long time, I pride myself on being an optimistic person about Auburn football. And I hope that still comes across. But I am trying to kind of dose myself and all of us with a little bit of reality as well, but not just lament about it like everybody does on Facebook. Oh my gosh, we're the most horrible team in the world. No, not really. There's much worse teams than us. The sad thing is that we've seen moments where this team could be a lot better, and it's just not happening yet. Will it get a chance to figure that out? Probably under this leadership, maybe not, but it will eventually. If Auburn beats UGA, I will laugh so hard at the UGA fans. Oh, it would be so juicy. It would be a fun time around here, and it would be such a complex for UGA fans. The majority of them being Atlanta Braves fans, with them how they're doing. So it's like, how do I process all that's going on, the good and the bad? Hey, by the way, if you guys see any cut-ins tonight, yes, we've got partnered up with the MLB Network to cut away to Aaron Judge. So if you ever see that, don't be surprised. I know he's already done the thing, but I know that's the running joke these days. You didn't say over a decade. Well, I misread that. Sorry. Sometimes I'm reading these things fast, as you probably know, and it just comes through there. We don't do well in Athens. We haven't scored more than 14 points in a game in Athens since 2009, and one of those touchdowns came off a kick return. Absolutely. I mean, I hear you. I hear you here, and I know the stats usually are there for a reason, but you got to throw out all the stats a lot of times in these big rivalry games, especially the Iron Bowl. Maybe not so much the case here. I think Coach Harsin, if we're just kind of giving you a little bit of my preview, since we won't be able to do one tomorrow night, my expectations would be, we'll probably score 2 touchdowns probably in the first half. We've shown that we can do that. No problem. Well, mostly no problem. We'll put up 13 to 14 points. The question is, will the second half offense be better? And something that's missed that I love Coach Harsin said this week, and, taken out of context, this will sound like he was placing blame on the defense. It's not. Just pointing out the fact that they have given up points going into the half more often than not, if I'm thinking about every game correctly. And that sets up for a really big momentum swing going into the half. So a lot of things play into a team losing, not just an offense, not getting the job done in the second half. Can Harsin be fired if he runs the table? Well, no, I think if he runs the table, he's fine. But my gosh, wow. Russell, what a feat that would be, right? I would bet I have a better chance of winning the lottery than Auburn running the table. Is it possible? 100% it is. Is it likely? Probably not. But if in that scenario, does Harsin run the table? If anybody runs the table at this point, what's that? 2 losses and only 1 SEC, 1 non-conference win. That's a great year. You don't fire your coach after that, no matter how much you dislike him as a collective. Jackson checking in says we will beat UGA. I love the optimism, guys. And then maybe that's going to feed into me this week and actually make me feel good. I will be flying back from where I was as the game gets started. I'll be landing probably about halfway through the first quarter. So I'll be like checking in as we go throughout the game. Jan on Facebook, watching from my home in Athens, sort of dreading the Saturday. Our record isn't too good. No first downs in the fourth quarter. Only 9 points scored in the second half. It's like that is the big buzz thing to talk about this week. It's those stats have always been there, but for some reason, because the beat writers and everybody put that out there this week, it's been like you can't talk to anybody without them quoting that. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's interesting how we all harp on these big things. Jackson, I've never been much of a sunshine pumper, but you should wear the sunshine pumper badge with honor if you ever get it. To me, when someone throws that in my face, I just laugh because I'm like, so you're upset with me for being a happy person? That's kind of ironic. Anyway, I think this is the week we put everything together. Well, I would say in your perspective, Jackson, there were improvements last week, not enough, especially in the second half. So if they can put things together, I have seen the foundation, the base, which we can fall back on to be a successful team. The question is, can you do that on the road for the first time this season under a freshman quarterback, redshirt freshman quarterback? It's a tall glass of water to drink. They wouldn't fire Harsin if he runs the table. Fire and hire Harsin is kind of, you want to interchange them. He would be 10-2. No way they'd fire a coach after that. I agree. 10 years ago, AU had a very bad year, then 2013. And those trends are always fun to talk about. But I hope we don't ever get too obsessed over them, because that doesn't mean that they're going to happen again. And let's put this into perspective. This is not a bad year yet. Plenty of football still to be played. And everybody's opinion of what a bad year is going to be, what a bad year is going to be different. To me, given the context, my favorite word these days, of what we're going through, 6-6 is not a bad year compared to what we're dealing with right now. I would, at the start of the year, I would have said anything lower than an 8-4 season is a bad year. But now that I have more information and what we're working with, 6-6 is it's not a good year, but it's not a bad year either. Rob says firing Harsin this early in the season only hurts the Auburn football program more. I agree. And I don't think a lot of people are aware that that's actually the case. So those people that are wanting and going to be just begging and pleading this, salivating on social media so they can do their gotcha post after this game. They're not really thinking that all the way through. You're rooting for your team to go through more turmoil. Yes, maybe to come out better on the other side. But was that necessary? Was it the ultimately right thing to do? I don't know. Let me skip ahead a little bit, get a little further behind. Let's see here. There's a lot of Aaron Judge comments going on here now. Wow, goodness. We switched to a baseball podcast. Good to see you, WT. Thanks for being here. And Shadow Moses, to Moses. Is this one of Tyler and Garrett's extra accounts? I feel like it is. Deion Sanders. Yeah, the popular thing right now to discuss. Listen, when Harsin is fired, I will start entertaining that seriously. But not until then. That is just pipe dreams that media people like to put out there to stir the pot because it gets clicks. But if he gets fired, then we'll obviously have room for more conversation about the reality of a Deion Sanders opportunity, but not until then. Tank asked for the O-line's beats back. It was really interesting to be at Reverse Tiger Walk the day after he handed those out and see everybody literally wearing them. It was really funny. And actually Tank walked right in front of me at Reverse Tiger Walk. And he had his on too. And I was just thinking, I was like, hey, Tank, help a brother out. Can I get some? I know you can afford it. WT, I want to be positive and hopeful. However, I feel we will be beaten so severely it will seem as that gets me every time y'all bring that up. Russell, Hars has been undermined in recruiting since he's been here. Corona restrictions, powers that be, unsupportive fans, not healthy combo for any coach in America. Minimum 3 to 4 years. Russell, I agree with you, but also disagree with you. yes, Harsin has come in and been dealt not a great starting point. I don't know how he's been undermined in recruiting personally, other than the traditional fan unapproval and what happens there, speculation about. I would disagree a little bit there. The corona restrictions, maybe, but that's not anybody's fault. But I agree with the notion that a coach should be given 4 years. I say 4 years. Sometimes I give 3 to 4, like you said, because I know people can't take that. But a coach should be given 4 years. But unfortunately, we live in a society where people are not patient. Let's see here. Let's just say if I wasn't watching or keeping up with this game, I checked the final score on my phone and see 27-20 Auburn victory, I wouldn't be like, what in the world? I really wouldn't. I would be shocked if Auburn won the game by a touchdown. If Auburn won the game 23-20, 24-20, I keep messing that up. 24-23, 17-16, 10-9, like in some weird one last minute field goal or something like that, maybe that would not shock me, but winning by more than a touchdown would shock me. Anyone who is hitting panic button on recruiting needs to listen to Auburn Live's interview with, I was like, Live's interview with Drew. How do you say this guy? Fabianich. They know what they need and they are working towards it. Yeah, obviously they know what they need, and it takes time to get there. The question is do what everybody likes to say, the powers that be, and the fans have the patience for it. My answer to that is no. I do, but the collective does not. Let's see. No point in firing anyone right now. Yeah, of course. I mean, I agree, but I don't know if it's. I don't know if we can't get past this week without it happening. Let me put it to you guys this way. If they're going to fire someone in the middle of the season, this is the week you need to do it, because it gives 2 weeks for the team to acclimate, right? Do I have that correct? I got our calendar right? Someone help me out. Of course, I'm really behind in chat too, so I'll confirm that in my in my calendar here that we have our bye week next week, which we do. So yes, this is the week that you would want to fire a head coach if you're going to. It gives the time, the extra week to acclimate, to figure things out, not go into a game week losing your head coach. So my hope is that if they don't pull the trigger this week, that they'll at least let it get to the end of the season, because boy, that will just send things into a tailspin. The other side of the equation is if you want to get that initial uptick that comes from a new coaching hire, you need to get them now too. I'm not advocating for it. Please hear me when I say that, but I'm just trying to play all the different angles on this. What do I think about Willis? You talk about Malik Willis? I haven't really watched him a whole lot. If he'll throw the ball to Robert Woods a little bit more in my fantasy league, our fantasy league, Tyler, then sure. I'll never forget when Tony Barbie was fired on the floor after the loss in the SEC tourney. Then Bruce Pearl. Isn't it funny how those things come? So yeah, maybe on the other side of this, if there is that other side of this, the next great things coming along. I have to believe that because we're here, even if I didn't want us to be. I love Auburn. I want us to win every game in every sport. So forget Harsin. How does one express concern about a coach without being a negative Nancy? Happy to call in and look foolish and discuss. Well, please call in. No, I mean, my goal is not to make anybody look foolish, or please do call in. I think that's one that we probably should tackle more over voice if you can, because it is something that's kind of a deeper conversation. Not deeper conversation. It's not deep conversation to talk about football. Anyway, speaking of calling in, we got our first caller tonight. So we'll go ahead and say hello to him. If you do get in the line right now, just stay patient. We'll get to you as much as we can, and we'll try to hop back into some of the comments and questions as soon as we can. And before we do that, no, absolutely not. All right. There he is.
I'm with Neil. Let's go, Neil.
No. Dusty, I will take you off this stream right now if you mention Urban Meyer. I will.
I didn't mention him. I didn't bring it up.
I know. What's up, buddy?
So I was thinking about this today because Chance Westry let me down. Or not Chance Westry, Wesley Yates. I'm sorry. The Wesley got me messed up there. But who starts at power forward, do you think? Is it going to be Jalen Williams? And then you go Broom at the 5?
Wait, did I miss something today? Am I behind? Why is the power forward question coming up? Did I miss some news?
No, well, we were after Wesley Yates the 3rd, and he's a big time recruit.
Okay.
And he went to Washington, and he's kind of like a 3, you know what I mean? But it got me thinking about how exactly will the starting 5 kind of roll out? Because, I mean, is Westry going to play 2? Is Westry going to play the 2 or the 3? You know what I mean? So we could go Wendell with KD, and then Westry at the 3, and then Jalen the 4, and Broom at the 5.
Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss something. I was away from the phone for like the last 2 hours before the show, so I was like, "Oh no, did I miss some big news that happened?" So that got me kind of worried there. No, power forward. Well, let's talk it through. Janai Broom is going to be center. We're probably looking at a combo of some type of Wendell. I know you asked about power forward, but I'm just trying to get my mind around that. Wendell and KD. Or Zepp, some combination of that is going to be your guards. With Allen's personal issues, he's not going to be factoring probably right away to the starting lineup. So that I guess that means Chance will probably maybe get the 3 if I'm kind of thinking about it. So power forward. Oh man, I love my Jalen Williams. Like I love that dude so much, and how much he's just like been patient and waited for his time. I think he's like this. I'm not going to credit myself for saying this. I think it was Chris Oldenburg, one of the former co-hosts of Inside the Jungle here. He called him the Swiss Army knife. So that's another one. Then you got Yawan Traore, who could do that as well. I'm going to go with my heart, and I've just heard how Bruce has talked about Jalen. I'm gonna say Jalen starts the year at power forward, but I could see someone else earning the spot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, now that I think about Johan, it's kind of like how long. Yeah, he probably will be the starting 4 by the end of the year. He'll be starting by the end of the year for sure.
Right. Yeah, so that's kind of how I feel about it. It's weird. Like another thing that threw me off when you asked that, I was like, I know we've been talking about football. I was like, it's basketball season, actually, guys. Like, I mean, we're close to it, really close. Yeah. They announced some of the scheduled dates for like the away games recently. So I'm getting excited. So
yeah, me too. I'll be at the George Mason game.
You will be at the starting game?
Yeah.
Awesome,
and then we're trying to decide between the Tennessee at home or the Alabama home game.
Tennessee at home. That's the Tennessee is at home. Is it the last game, right?
I'm not sure. I just know we play them at home. So
I think it's the home game. If it is, try to get that ticket last, because, it may come down to us, trying to fight for an SEC regular season title if we do well with Tennessee or, whoever. But
yeah, I was upset that we lost them at the closing series of baseball.
It's convenient, isn't it?
Yeah. You were talking about that Penn State weekend. Like it sucked that happened. We were all looking forward to that.
They're someone very well connected to the programs, all of them. I put that question out on Twitter, and he got out there and said it was a scheduling mistake on the SEC's part. It had nothing to do with Tennessee. And so I still had some trouble with it. It's like, convenient. Tennessee doesn't get to come back to Auburn for Auburn baseball, but here we are,
Yeah. No, I just wanted to get some basketball in, man.
Yeah,
I know. Let's just, because look, dude, at the end of the day, like just the thing that frustrates me is that people act like two things can't be true, or that like everything's just so black and white, and it forms these camps. And it's like, man, there's a lot of details that go with a lot of things. And if you voice concerns, that doesn't mean like you're hating on something. You're voicing a concern. So it's become so toxic and so negative that I'm like, whatever, man, y'all have fun with that.
I think there is a point where you have to kind of almost check out for the most part from those things. I can't because of what I do, but I think if you're not running a business or a podcast and you can check out from times like this for at least for a few weeks until things get figured out, it's probably a good thing, because you're right. It gets really toxic. I think the biggest thing for me, if we're talking about the whole divisiveness amongst the Auburn family that always rises up during these occasions, it's about how it comes across, especially on social media. And I think it's easy for us to look at something we type out and say, hey, I didn't mean anything by that. There's no way anybody could be offended by that. But then we forget it's just written form, so people are reading it the way they want to see it. Does that make sense? It's kind of...
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Look, I put up a picture of Denzel Washington, and then I don't know the other actor's name, but from Remember the Titans, like Herman Boone, and in the movie his name is Coach Yost.
Yep.
I put that up and I said, well, this combo could save Auburn football. And I got people like, we still have a coach. It's like, I'm clearly okay.
There are two sides that are way too on either side of this. Look, I'm a guy right now that's, fighting for Auburn in the case of saving Harsin right now, because I think that's what's best for Auburn. But I'm not going to sit here and get all offended if you want to crack a joke about that,
So, I mean, like, my thing is, as long as you're not getting personal, man, and obviously like the obvious stuff, but it's like, I've been fired from a job before, and I had to find out by like just not, oh, my card don't work. And I go in there, hey, I can't clock in. Yeah, you're out of here. I didn't get $16 million. So my little Remember the Titans joke, he'll be okay.
Yeah, he'll be all right. He'll be all right. What else you got in your mind? I got time for maybe one more. We do got a line.
Oh, you're good, man. That's it. That's all, man. War Eagle, appreciate you. You do a good job. And I just want to get kind of, basketball's right around the corner, man. So
hey, man, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Not just because football's not doing it. I'm so excited for this team. I'm so excited for, the potential that we all see with them. And, last year was just so much fun. And I think it's going to be just as fun this year.
It'll be the main thing I'm interested in is to see, because I don't know unless those guys improve from three, how much improved is our 3-point shooting going to be. I feel like there's going to have to be more of a focus on getting easy baskets in the half court when teams slow down our defense.
Yeah.
When they take away those fast break buckets, we're going to have to figure out a way to, in a low shot clock situation, get a good look at the basket instead of just taking back and tested threes. So I'll be interested to see how we work that out. And Bruce set us up, man. Our all season, our pre-conference schedule was pretty tough. So
it's surprisingly tough. I think a lot of people are maybe looking over that. I saw somebody, not an Auburn fan, obviously, like try to like downplay that. I'm like, you don't really understand basketball, do you? Yeah. West Virginia is down right now, but you don't want to go into Bob Huggins' arena and mess around. Bob Huggins is a name in college basketball for a reason. So don't mess. It's that mess around and find out. Don't mess around with Bob Huggins, because you will find out.
Yeah. Hey, Devin, I'm kidding. It's not that serious. All right, man. War Eagle, you'll have a good night.
All right. Good to see you. Thanks. All right. We do have a little bit of a lineup, so please be patient if you're in the line. We'll get you in as soon as we can. Let's say hello to our next caller. We all need a little optimism in our life. Mr. Kevin, how are you doing, sir?
War Eagle, I think we will go down to Georgia, have a beat down.
A beat down from us to them?
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love it. I listen, I believe that we can do it, but I'm a little Auburn heart's hurting right now.
I got 3 questions for you.
All right, give me the 3.
The first one, Robbie Ashford is playing real good.
Okay.
That's your quarterback right there.
Right. Yep.
And the second question is the wide receivers.
Okay.
Cole Moore and Camden Brown and Javoris Jackson and Cedric Jackson and Armor Kelly need to step up.
I think they stepped up pretty well this week. It was nice to see so many new names. Well, I think the biggest thing, names that we've seen so little of get involved. You had Camden Brown with his touchdown. You had Amari Kelly made that great catch along the sideline.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think you've been around long enough to remember we've talked about is the need for some of these other guys to rise to the occasion with Cedric Jackson.
What's
Javarius has done it. What's that?
What's wrong with London King?
Landon King. Well, yeah. So what he's addressing is apparently I don't know if it's been confirmed yet, but apparently there is either speculation or somewhat confirmed reports that he is asking for a red shirt to sit out the rest of the year and potentially go into the transfer portal. I don't know. I don't talk to Landon King. I can guess, I can guess that he hasn't gotten thrown to as much as he'd like. He's been out there enough, I think, not a lot, but enough. So that's probably what it is. He wants more opportunities and he doesn't seem to be getting them at the moment. Maybe it's something we don't even know about, but I find it interesting that if the reports are true that he wants to red shirt, that he's not immediately putting him. You don't usually hear people say, I want a red shirt and then maybe think about the portal.
They said he will be back next year.
Who said that?
Some of the Auburn fans on Facebook.
Well, I hope so. I hope maybe he's just got some other stuff going on. Maybe he's tweaked a little bit that we don't know about.
Personal reasons.
Yeah, maybe things that we don't even need to know about. Like, everybody's got their own stuff going on, but it is what it is. You said you had a third question for me?
Yeah, the defense backs.
The defensive backs or the defense in general?
End.
What about them?
They did real good.
Yeah, if you're talking about Derek Hall, obviously doing very well. He's doing very well for himself at the edge position. Colby had a great game this last time around. And then Marcus Bragg, who came in for the injured Iku Leota. There was a lot of hype about him when he came in.
Oda be back next year?
I don't know. See, the problem is he's a graduate transfer, so that means usually that means they've used their 5th year already that they could use. So that would require a medically allowed 6th year. Now, we've seen that before. Is that what Iku wants? I don't know, and I don't know what he has to meet criteria-wise to get that. But it's a great question. I would love to have him back because he's a good leader and he's a good player.
Guess what?
What's that?
I will be down there on my birthday, October 29th, against LSU. No.
Arkansas? Arkansas. Well, hopefully we can meet up and I can wish you a happy birthday.
Hey, what time that Tiger walk that day? You know yet?
I do not know yet. They have not set the game time yet, but you will see us talking about it here. So just stay tuned, buddy.
Yeah, and the volleyball team is losing 2-0 right now.
Oh, don't tell me that. You're supposed to be my optimism guy. Come on, Kevin. You're hurting me, all right?
But we will come back.
I hope so. Hey, buddy, it was good to hear from you tonight, okay?
War Eagle. Bye.
War Eagle. All right, that was Kevin. All right, we got another caller in here. Let me do this real quick before we get too far into things. Always check out our friends at this way, Kyle. All Things Auburn. Check them out, allthingsauburn.net, for a place to stay, not just in Auburn to have a place to rest your head at night, to get some rest, but a place where you can have a full and complete Auburn experience. You can deal with the great people there like Miss Tanya, who help you obviously get the accommodations you need, but close to campus, close to all the great things that we want to be a part of: Jordan-Hare Stadium, Neville Arena, Plainsman Park, and everything else in between. Check out allthingsauburn.net. They are the people that bring you the Auburn Family live stream every single Wednesday night. Thank you to them. All right, next caller. Brian, what's going on? Thank you for your patience, sir.
You bet. War Eagle from Minnesota. Really in Minnesota.
First of all, how cold was it there?
It was 75 today. It was beautiful.
75.
It'll be 50 tomorrow. So
okay. Well, I think we're supposed to get into like the upper 40s tonight for some reason, and then go right back up. So it's really weird for the South. Like we get those little cold snaps, but then just like come back right back up.
We get little warm snaps like that, unfortunately.
Warm snaps like that. Well, hey, listen, I'm sure it's easy for you up there, but I just I have family in Wisconsin. You may have heard me talk about that before. So I've gotten a little taste of life up there, but I can definitely tell you I'm more suited for down here.
I think I've lived here my whole life, and I think I'm more suited for down there too. But
All right. What's on your mind tonight?
well, like I said, I want to talk about this. I love Auburn.
Right.
Everything Auburn. Want us to win every game, every sport, whatever. So forget about Harsin. How do you respectfully say, hey, I have a concern about this coach without everyone feel like you're just crapping on your team? Because you and I have had those conversations in here, and you're like, don't be negative. I'm like, well, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to be real about where we're at.
Right.
Because I hope we run the table. I hope we kick Georgia's ass. You know what I mean?
Right. I got you.
Yeah.
No, I think what you just said right there. I mean, here's the funny thing about it. The difference between talking to someone in person as opposed to online, like written form, is incredible. And I'm not even talking about like social media within the conversation of college athletics, Auburn athletics. I'm talking about like, I hate texting. Like, people ask my family, just because I'm like, if you want to talk to me, talk to me, because things get misunderstood, they get misconstrued. And so that's the nature. So we have this great tool, social media. Obviously, I utilize it a lot.
Right.
And it's been a struggle for me too, to figure out how do I convey a message without trying to offend. Maybe sometimes I want to, but, but also do it in a way that the fewest amount of people can be offended by. So to answer your question is, I don't have an answer for you, but I think it's just something that you have to continually work at, is say, like what you just said, I have a concern. I want Auburn to win. This ain't working. What are we going to do about it? So does that answer it at all?
Like, I've heard people say, don't post something you wouldn't say to Harsin's face. Well,
I've said that.
Right. And in my real life, I've had to hire and fire people, right? I would say to somebody, I love you, man. This isn't working out. This isn't the right fit. I'd say that to his face. It doesn't seem like this is working.
Oh, no. And I think that's the best way to, like what you just said right there. If you had the opportunity to, if you're the firing person in that athletic department, that's the other thing. So I don't get the impression that you, given the opportunity, you seem like, obviously in person, a very nice guy.
Well,
that would be how you would, how would be. I don't, that sounded bad.
No,
honestly, us talking here, you seem very well. You can convey yourself very well in person.
Sure.
I don't know that I could see you starting off with that. So if you, imagine I'm Harsin.
Yeah. Hey,
just
Brian.
We walk up on the street. He's still head coach somehow after the Georgia game. How are you going to? What are you going to say to him?
If I saw him on like a Tumor's Corner or something, like, sure. I would
just out and about.
I'd give him a high five and ask him if I could take a selfie, because I love Auburn and I want a picture with the coach. I mean, that's what I do. Because I'm not his boss.
Right.
And I'd want to support him that way. I wouldn't be like, what the heck were you doing on 4th and 1 against Penn State? Why didn't you kick the field goal? Okay. I might have that question, but I don't feel like if I ran into him in public, that's the place to have that.
Right.
If he was sitting down at a bar with me and we were having a beer, yeah, I might go, so tell me what you were thinking. Walk me through the strategy. Because I'm also willing to admit, we talked a little bit about this on the live stream about second halves the other day.
Right.
Like you asked me, well, what would you do different in the second half? I don't know. I'm not a football coach. And as much as I think he might not be the right coach for us, I'm willing to admit he knows a heck of a lot more about football than I ever will.
Yeah.
So I would say, so tell me what you were thinking. That's always when I meet anyone in life who is an expert at what they do, and even if I don't think he's the right fit for Auburn, I think he was good at Boise State. He's an exceptional football coach. I would ask him, what were you thinking? Why do you think second half is such a problem? Why? And it's not one game. It's a trend, which is my concern. Right.
We've all seen the numbers,
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I would ask him if I saw him on the street. I wouldn't be a jerk to him, but if I was his boss, if I was the interim AD, I would say, hey, Brian, I don't think this is working. And what I think is best for Auburn is for us to make a change now. And you can say, I don't think it's the right time. And I respect that opinion.
Right.
I would say, let's just do it now. It's going to happen. Let's rip the Band-Aid off and start moving forward. So,
yeah. So I guess kind of get back to the crux of what you're asking, like how do you do that, or why? Maybe what you're asking without saying it is why someone like me is expressing that type of is getting the flack for doing that. Like why? What's wrong about that? Is that a fair kind of way to phrase where your mind's at with that?
I feel like when I say, hey, well, I get after San Jose State, right? I remember I made a comment like, do we still feel like we're going to go 5-0? And you're like, don't be a negative Nancy. I think we are. And I'm like,
well, yeah,
I want us to, but I don't believe we're going to anymore based on what I saw that day. I had real concerns that fit a narrative that goes back to every game since Ole Miss last year, in my opinion. So, yeah. Anyway.
Well, no. That I just was making sure I was understanding kind of what the heart behind your question was.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to figure out how to get my mind around this as well, because I got now to a point where I was understanding what the heart of your question was.
Yeah.
I think
I love my school, man.
I do, and I can tell you do. Like I can tell you do by the way you're talking about it right now. Yeah. I think the biggest concern, especially I'll just use me as an example, is how I see people, but not even talking about you, doing that hurts Auburn online, and then getting mad when that's pointed out to them that you're part of the problem as well in terms of how people perceive Auburn. So my mindset's always been, don't be part of the negativity. If we want to, like you've said, listen, we're all hanging out. I give the open forum here, so this is obviously fair game here, right? I don't cut anybody out unless they're misbehaving, and I think that's one of the things is what do you, the majority of the time, come across as? Is it someone sharing more reality or what could be perceived as negativity or optimism? To me, on that scale of optimism, pessimism, I think it's very healthy to find yourself on the optimism side, but not like, sunshine pumper.
I'm telling you, for every year of the Gus Malzahn era, I was considered a sunshine pumper. I mean,
were you really?
Oh yeah, I got accused of being a Gus apologist, man.
Oh, I'm a happy Gus apologist. But label me that all they want.
And I don't really want to make this about Harsin, but I feel like what a lot of people want is for Harsin to get us back to where we were when we had Gus, and that would be considered success. And I'm like, we had that. That wasn't good enough. Supposedly, let's go better than that, and that's a whole different conversation. But
I 100% agree with you on so many levels about what you just said. There are, oh God, this is a whole nother.
It's a whole nother conversation. Yeah,
it just there is some what's going on tonight. There are people that are staking their happiness off of seeing somebody fail because it makes them be able to say, I was right over one.
I don't think it's any secret. Like I'll be disappointed that the hire didn't work out. I won't be disappointed if Harsin was let go. But that said, I hope we beat Georgia by 4 touchdowns or more. I mean, like, I hate Georgia. Like, let's kick their ass, right? I mean, but I feel like I can hold both of those things equally in my heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway.
No, I love your perspective on it. I really do. And, I think that's the biggest thing, kind of going again back to where we started with this, was trying to understand how we can share both of those things. I'm not going to have the answers for you on that one, unfortunately. I don't think anybody is, right? You're just going to have to find that happy balance of what you're most associated with. I'm most associated with being a sunshine pumper, and I proudly wear that, even though if you listen to me for the last 2 weeks, all I've been doing is preparing you all. Georgia's coming. Don't think we're going to beat Georgia. I believe we can, but I'm looking at, go ahead.
It just kills me to even be like a 30-point underdog. I mean, I saw it today and I'm like, that's embarrassing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it was bad. I mean, so my daughter, full disclosure, graduated from the University of Minnesota.
Okay.
I mean, the 2019 Outback Bowl was painful for me. I had a lot of friends who I had no idea even cared about college football. All of a sudden told me they were big Gopher fans and how bad we sucked and all this stuff. But so they're having a lot of fun rubbing my nose, and we're a big bad SEC school that sucks right now. And I'm like, well, just wait. We'll be back.
I was about to say, like, yeah, y'all enjoy it now. Just
enjoy it now, right? I keep saying I'd love to schedule a home and home. Let's do it. Let's play Minnesota home and home with BJ. So,
Oh man,
yeah.
that Minnesota
Anyway, well, I
game.
appreciate you taking my call, and
Of course,
it's tough, man. It's
it is. And listen, we're
tough to support those two things. So
emotions are high for everybody right now. And here's the thing. I think Dusty even said it when he called. We all want the same thing. We want Auburn to succeed. I think we all just have different ideas about how we can help, because we feel powerless as fans, right? Because we go support the team, we talk about them, we do all that stuff, but we want to help propel it. And sometimes we all disagree on how we can help. Some believe it's help get rid of the guy right now so we can start moving forward. And others see that maybe time is the best thing. Here's the great thing. We're not paid to make those decisions.
I know. I'm not.
Thank God we don't have to, because if Kyle Loomis was paid to make those decisions, boy, a lot of y'all would be unhappy right now.
And I promise you, if the day comes where he's not our coach, I will not say I told you so. I will be sad. But
I would be, and I think I like what you said earlier too. I've grown more appreciative of Brian as he's been here, even despite the way the season's gone. I don't know how long you've been watching, but I've
like a year and a half.
Okay, so you probably have seen me be probably upset with the Malzahn firing and kind of know my perspective on that. I've grown to appreciate Brian, and I would be upset to lose him, but my upsetness does outweigh my upsetness for how that affects Auburn, because that's what, like we said, that's what we all want. It's just Auburn to be okay, not just okay. We want Auburn to be great.
We want Auburn to be great. War Eagle man.
War Eagle man. Thanks for calling.
Yep.
Awesome. Great call. Great call. Always good to hear from new people on here, or at least people that have not called in themselves as often. So please do feel like you can call in and express those things. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me, why I do this the way that I do, because I saw a void out there that we're all expressing these things online, and it's a lot of us are not getting our point across the way that we could. And I say that for myself too. So this gives you an opportunity to come on here and verbalize it, put, faces or voices to it, and really talk about these things. And so that's one of the great things about this too, is I get to meet some of y'all and talk about these things. Because I know I'm in front of the camera, but this isn't about me. This is about all of us. This is why this is called Auburn Family Night. All right, there's your touchy-feely moment for the night. I'll stop. Rob, okay, I'll get back to some comments and questions. If you had something you brought up earlier that when we were having all of our callers, you can still call in, by the way. We're not going to get done right at 9, so we're going to stay a little bit longer. Bring it back up to the forefront, and I'll try to address it. Unless we get another caller, and then we'll try as best we can. I will ask again, when does basketball season begin? Hold your horses. George Mason game, as Dusty brought up. Auburn basketball. You probably have already looked it up by now yourself, as I try to do it here on the fly. Technically, it begins on November 2nd, so less than a month. That is the exhibition game versus UAH. George Mason will be on the 7th, 5 days later. So you literally have a month and 2 days, well, give or take, to get ready, get hyped for what's going to be an amazing season. And listen, I think we are all going to be ready for that, regardless of how you feel about this season so far, because it's just going to be so nice to talk about something that at least everybody is excited about. I would rather have a coach that can win. That's why AU pays coaches. The question always is, I have Neil for that type of statement, is how do you know they can't win if they're not given the appropriate amount of time? And in my opinion, this is not the appropriate amount of time. The real question, why in the world are we projected 5th in the SEC? You think these people would learn by now we ain't no mid-tier B-ball program. Okay, make sure I was talking about. I think, honestly, there's a group of about 4. You've got Arkansas, who everybody's in love with this year, Kentucky, Tennessee, and, everybody is pretty hyped about Alabama still. I mean, there is a world where being ranked 5th is very possible, or the finishing 5th in the SEC, but I don't think so. I think it'll be very similar to last year. You're going to find 3 of those 4, I'm not really counting Alabama yet, fighting it out at the end of the year. Probably going to be Arkansas and somebody else. Probably going to be Auburn and Arkansas. That's my thoughts on it. If Bruce Pearl had losing seasons, would you still want him as coach in 2 years? So given the proper context deal of that question, if we're talking comparing Brian and his losing versus Bruce and his, yes, because he had losing seasons in his first 2, I think. His first 2 years were losing seasons. I had great moments in it, but they were not good. So given the proper amount, Bruce Pearl is a perfect example. There was a small amount of time where people were questioning the hire, and it just took that one last bit of patience, and it flipped. Yeah, I hate that Big Cat did that. I'm a fierce defender of Auburn guys even after they leave us and go to other opportunities, aka Bo Nix. But you want to take a shot at us, I might be okay with you taking a few licks. Listen, I wish Big Cat had stayed here. I think he would have done a lot better here. But you got to do what you got to do. Doesn't mean it's always the right decision, though. Let's see here. 14, 15, and 16 were all losing seasons. We've seen the best basketball program in the SEC since 2017. Was 16 a losing season? I didn't think it was, but I knew the first one was, obviously. Ooh, that was a rough one. Simeon Bowers was your point guard at one point. Let me put that in perspective for people. Simeon Bowers, your center, had to play point guard. I will never forget Clint and I, we started the Inside the Jungle podcast, which is part of our network. It's still going on to this day with Chandler and Jace. When we were even hinting that was going to be a reality, like, what if this is real? Like these reports that he's going to be, and it was. That's how bad it was. Not because of anything Bruce did. He was trying to bring it out of the gutter, but it was still a bad, bad season. When Simeon Bowers is your point guard, you are in a bad place. The basketball locker room tour is awesome. Did they post one, Rob? See, they don't do that. And I actually heard someone at the locker room tours this week asking about basketball, and these are not Auburn officials that man them and kind of monitor them for them. These are just volunteers, I believe, or I can tell they're not. I shouldn't say that. They do not appear to be athletic department members, just kind of volunteer type of situation. They were saying, and I agree with them, that the setup is not as great, and they probably wouldn't get as big of a draw, even with Auburn basketball the way it is, to do those type of things. Yeah. Bruce Pearl and Butch Thompson both struggled initially until becoming dominant. I don't know if Butch is dominant yet. Butch is getting up there very quickly. What Butch is doing is he's being consistent, right? And when they have a down year, they're right back up there. So really hard to find fault in a guy that is showing. Let me equate it to a program here currently that not a lot of you pay attention to, but you should. The soccer program. Coach Hoppe is one of the best coaches. There's a reason she's now our most tenured coach, with Coach Ralph Spry of track retiring this past year. Almost every year they have a down year, which the way SEC play has gone for them this way, maybe it is going to be, but it didn't look that way to start off. They bounce back up, and it seems like every year they're making the playoffs. So you got to show. Once you get up to that certain point, if you have a down year, you got to show the trajectory to get back. And that's why Gene fell off at such a rate as a football head coach that even as much as I loved him and wanted him to stay, you can't really make an argument for that. The program just literally fell apart. All right, I'm getting behind again here. Bruce Pearl's record at Auburn, 166-97. I thought it would be a lot better by now, but that tells you something, doesn't it? How much he had to lose to get to that 166. Going to be hard to get anything done wins when your recruiting is last in the SEC. Not necessarily Hillbilly. I know we cover this a lot with everybody here, but recruiting isn't everything. It is a very big piece of the pie, a very big important piece. But it matters what you do with the recruits that you have more than who you get. These companies have trained all of us, me especially, and I finally got free of it, to obsess over these rankings and these stars and not worry about what happens after as much as what happens before. Once you break free of that indoctrination, and that's even mean to say, because I even know somebody personally who works for one of those companies, and they do a lot of good work and hard work, and there's no malicious intent in that, but we as humans have an addictive nature, and that is a very addictive thing if not kept in check. That was a very high level discussion that I went into. All right. Let's see. I totally agree 2 years is not long enough, but if his decision making is like it is now, I would rather not go past 2 years. Fire his down and yardage analyst. Well, who is that? I guess Keesaw, right? He's the one that makes the decisions to go for it or not. Well, I guess he shouldn't say that. Harston probably makes decisions to go for it or not, but Keesaw makes the decisions on how you go for it. You don't remember 2002 Auburn basketball games were free? No, I don't remember that. I know it looks like I'm super old, but I'm not that old. I remember watching them, listening to them on the radio. Probably went to one or two, but yeah, I don't remember them being free. If that's true, how things have changed. Bruce was also proven before he came to Auburn. Sure. Yeah. I would argue that if that's what we're still kind of bouncing back and forth, that Brian was proven on a different level before then. It was one of the things that I said that I was not very sold on when we hired him, not because of him, the person, his potential, but because of where he was coming from. A non-Auburn guy from way out west. Would he fit into the culture here? I would argue he does fit into the culture. Some of us don't want him to. And I think the people that think that I'm talking about them when I say that, I'm probably not. It's funny how those things work sometimes. How many games do you see? Realistically, how many games do you see Auburn winning going forward in the SEC? So are we? I guess we're going and saying Western Kentucky's a win. Hopefully, I think Texas A&M is very much up for grabs. I believe that Mississippi State is very much up for grabs, even though they've shocked a few people. I think Arkansas is up for grabs too. I would say Ole Miss, Georgia, obviously. Ole Miss and Alabama concern me the most. Those other ones would definitely say, am I forgetting somebody? I think I got everybody in that. Kyle, one thing that I'll say is that Harston is not stubborn like Gus was. People would disagree with you there. Harston was willing to adjust the offense to fit Robbie's strengths for the LSU game. There were different offensive approaches. Well, let me use what you're saying here in defense of Harston against Gus, something that he even said this week. The reason that you guys saw us do things differently, these are things that we've been working towards. Our players have just not been able to execute them yet, to make them effective, to make us feel comfortable to utilize them. And now they are. So what you perceive as stubbornness, you don't have all the information. Maybe it is stubbornness. I'm willing to admit that. But I think we latch on to these ideas because it fits our narrative on social media and just pound it. Just keep throwing it out there because it gets clicks and likes and stuff like that. So that's just my opinion of it. I'm probably wrong, but I just kind of wrapping all of your commentary in that and kind of what I think about it. I would rather have a good recruiter and a terrible coach than the best coach and a terrible recruiter. Hillbilly, you and I are not going to see eye to eye on this subject whatsoever. If that's the case, then you and Tommy Tuberville would not see eye to eye. Tommy Tuberville, king, turning 2 stars into 5 stars. I think you could find some balance in that perspective, Hillbilly. Just a little bit. Only 2 of our coaches in our basketball history have a winning percentage in the SEC. Eve, 62%, and Bruce, 51%. Interesting. I surely would have thought Cliff Ellis would have had a better winning percentage in the SEC. I know you're specifically talking about the SEC. That's interesting. Where are you guys finding these facts at? I know you can go research them and find them, but like, are y'all like readily finding these things available, or are the beat writers putting them out today? Sometimes like the things that people go and do the research on because they care about that stuff more than I do is fascinating, like these trends and things like that. Hey, let's celebrate. Everybody a big War Eagle, even though they're not for all, Auburn. Her son's T-ball team just won. Woo! All right. Mississippi State will kill us, maybe. Maybe so. They have a lower propensity to kill us than does a lot of the other teams, though. It's a much different defense this year. Larry, first comment I've seen from you tonight. I probably missed some others. Harston has not had a fair shake. In terms of years, yes, he has not had a fair shake. But, he has, like, here's where I will level with the Fire Harston camp. I would have hoped to have seen a little bit more stability by now. But I can still understand the context of what he was given to work with and say, wow, that might have been a little bit worse than I thought. Sure would have hoped any great coach would be able to, by now, show some better signs, but hasn't happened. Hillbilly agrees with that. Oh, my goodness. Ellis was 46%. Wow, that is shocking. That is absolutely shocking, Unbeaten Lake. I am shocked that Ellis had a 46% winning percentage. Wow, that's kind of disappointing now. Texas A&M and Arky agree, but everyone else not so much. I think here's the thing with the air raid offense. When it's working, it's great. When it's not, it's terrible. Like absolutely terrible. The difference is that our defensive backs, outside of not creating a lot of turnovers, has shown some life this year. Not great, not outstanding, but do y'all remember how bad the defensive backs looked at some points last year? I do. So I feel a lot better about where we're sitting at defensively, even in Stark Vegas, which is a terrible place to watch a game. Beautiful, but just those cowbells are just awful. Absolutely awful. Ooh, interesting scenario. I know I see your comment below that you didn't mean to be insensitive by that. We understand that. No one's going to get overly offended here. Would you rather have Bill Snyder, bad recruiter, head great coach, or Gene Chizik, bad coach, great recruiter? Can I have both? Let's see. My leanings would be to have a Bill Snyder, because I believe in the word that's overused to, developing players more than recruiting players. All right, we got one more caller we'll take tonight. I know we're going a little bit longer. Oops, it's actually Russell on the line. We'll talk to him in just a second then. Let me just make sure we're caught up on everything. If we beat Georgia, $30 super chat on the way. Woo! I think your money's safe. Listen, Jackson, this one gives me a headache as much as Lane, as much as Urban, but because of his entertainment factor, I would be willing to entertain the prospect of him. Gosh, I just hope we don't do that, though. I hope. I do not want to be an air raid offense. I don't. Y'all hate the amount of running that we're doing now. Imagine in an air raid offense. You ain't gonna like it. I promise. You ain't gonna like it. Russell, you've gone to black on there. If you're there, give me like a wave or something. I will let you in as soon as I can see that we're got a good connection, but I can't see you at the moment. Oh, okay. Looks like we got you. Let's say hello to Mr. Russell. What's going on there?
Hey, buddy, War Eagle.
Sitting in the dark, huh?
Yeah, I'm kind of in and out. I wanted to come outside, get some sunset, but it's already down.
Yeah, right. Hey, listen, you're about in the same position I was during the post-game show of, was it, what game was it? Missouri, where I just let the sun set on me in the background and we were pretty much in the dark by it.
Yeah, you'll catch little glimpses here, but it's better, less pace, better for Auburn fans.
What's on your mind, sir?
Oh, buddy, I was actually just going to let it ride and call in next week. But I was enjoying the conversation. And just for a second, if you don't mind, I had mentioned last week my aunt was sick and appreciate the prayers. She had passed away. We buried her today, and I appreciate the Bible praying, but it was a very positive experience. She didn't have to suffer. And I appreciate everybody praying. I'm just saying that not to bring everybody down, but just if you can, just remember the people that are special to you, because we get caught up in all these things in the world like football and jobs and social media. And just remember who loves you and try to show that, reciprocate if you can, because sometimes you don't get a chance because we're not promised tomorrow.
Amen.
So not trying to preach everybody, but just, try to tell people that you love them.
I agree.
But anyway, War Eagle to everybody. I'm hoping we can get us a big win this week. I have high hopes. People call me a sunshine pumper, but I'm always
pump away, sir. I love sunshine pumpers. Y'all are my people. You pump away.
I try, because these are hard times. There's so many moonshine pumpers. I don't know what the opposite of sunshine, moon pumpers out there. It's just it's rough right now, because it's I wish Harves would have got a fair shake from the get-go. And what I was talking about earlier is when he came in, he had the corona restrictions where he couldn't fully recruit. Mm-hmm. So he had that up until like right before the season, and then he comes up, and then he has the questions in the off season with recruiting, which totally undermined any transfers he could have got, which people are upset about him not signing guys towards that second signing period. But we don't know what their plans were. They may have been needing some transfers, some immediate help, and he didn't have that opportunity because support had already been stripped out from under him during that transfer season right before the season. Right. So there was that to go on top of it. And then you got to deal with it all along with the season, what's going on now, with that cloud hanging over, and it's all over. Every time you watch Auburn on TV, they bring this up and about his job security. So, I mean, it's been the whole time from day one, he hasn't had full support for recruiting. And what our biggest enemies are beating us in recruiting. That's their biggest advantage over us. They're just bringing in these talented guys that makes me sick to watch them every week, seeing guys on there that should be starting for Auburn, but we just couldn't close the deal, specifically offensive linemen like Broderick Jones and, some of these guys I see playing for Georgia and Alabama, guys that—
Isn't that painful? Isn't that painful?
So painful. It's so painful because people are just so— I don't understand how people don't get the big picture on a rebuild job, because he's had his starting quarterbacks go down his both seasons. And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a plan in place and all that, but this guy's trying to rebuild. Mm-hmm. He's trying to rebuild a program. And I'm not saying that Gus just left it in shambles, but it was just a different type of mindset. It's become
different
obvious
mindset or different scheme. I think as much as people don't give credit to what a rebuild actually takes, it's much more than that. This is a rebuild of a complete 180 of what we were to what apparently we want to become now. And so that literally takes that time, and maybe I won't say doubles it, but just it makes it worse. It makes that growing pains worse when you throw in the things that you've brought up, like Corona, which everybody was dealing with, granted. But that is why, for me, the decision to fire Gus when we did was stupid. And I think you're seeing some of that now. Now, will that ultimately get us either Brian to that point or the next coach to that point, and we'd be fine? Of course, I believe that. We're going to get there.
Yeah.
But what's my favorite phrase? It didn't have to be this way. So.
No, it didn't have to be this way. It did not have to be this way, because Malzahn, he didn't leave it. I thought he set up that year, Harson's first year last year, for a good run. And, we never know what happened. I understand people being fed up with and wanting to change on that. So you go to the next guy and then you give him a year and a half and he's trying to install his own different type of mindset. Like there was just different things. And I'm not bashing on Gus, but the way they worked out was different. They're
Right.
just totally different things. Like it's just crazy. So he's coming in. Oh man, I had a good point on the Rona issue. There was something on that. My mind's going in 100
I'm
different
sorry. I
directions.
probably took your train off of that.
No, you brought up a good point, and I can't think of it now. It was really good what you said. But yeah, it's unfortunate, because I wish he would have had ample support because I would like to see what the possibilities could have been because the people he's brought in so far, in my opinion, they're not scrubs. I mean, look at who he's brought in. People aren't upset with Hunter at running back or Robbie Ashford right now trying to become a good quarterback like we know how he can be at some point. We got good receivers coming in, I feel like, and understand
Yeah.
things aren't working right now, but he's not the one, and I'm not hating on the players right now, but he's not the one that's doing these turnovers and throwing the ball, on a wide receiver sweep right to a man. That's like the number one thing that you're told on that play growing up since middle school. You at least throw the ball 100 miles, 100, just get it out of bounds. There's no chance you ever give somebody a shot. But there's just things like that, and the fumble, and the ball, and the punt. That's not he's not. People blame that on the coach, but he's trying to build a program. These are new guys coming in trying to get established at Auburn. All these people, new players, and you can tell they're good players, but they just need time.
Yeah.
Can't just come in and just be top notch and go to town with the Alabama and Georgia immediately.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, you brought up. Oh man, I wish it was. Go ahead. What were you saying just a second ago, right before I was talking, when you were talking about Malzahn and the change?
Oh, just understanding, I think, the perspective of what it takes. I mean, you've got some people that just want to be hateful towards Malzahn. I mean, we see that every day. Like that. People don't understand how big of a change that is going on right now. And I knew that was going to happen, which is why I didn't want that for Auburn. If we get to the other side of this thing, all hunky-dory, it'll be worth it, right? And that's what I hope now, because we're here. And me to sit and pout and wish I never fired Malzahn. I mean, I bring it up just for the simple fact of saying that the growing pains we're experienced that weren't necessary. But we're here now. And so now we've got to focus on how we move forward. And I don't think that firing a coach, as you said, who's had a year and a half to get things right with a lot of other factors is the right decision right now. Now, listen, at the end of this season, if we're talking no more wins, it's probably a more fair conversation to have. I'm still a guy that believes in the 4-year rule, but I'm willing to have that conversation with you at that point and start kind of weighing it out so much. But we're not at the weighing point right now for me. We're at the, wow, we all didn't realize how bad this was going to be and what it was going to take to get to the other side of a transition period. So hopefully the patience returns. Will it? Probably not, but it is what it is.
Do you think it's more of a cultural thing?
I think some of it is. I think some of it is, but I'll be honest with you. The people that you're thinking of when you say that instant gratification culture, it's not the age group that is mainly the problem, because you can tell when a child is making those type of rants and raves and an adult is. And even though some of the adults act like children, speak, Kyle. So I think there is, obviously everything that's going on affects everything. We're all living in the same broken world. We're all living in the same crazy life. Not necessarily individual lives, but you get what I'm saying. So yes, some of that's at play there, but it really is just, I think social media really just plays more into all this kind of stuff. And I love it and I hate it too. But the days that it is a good thing, I do enjoy it.
It could be used for a tool for good or evil. It's just how you choose to use it. In my opinion, people hate on it all the time, but it can be used for a lot of good. I've seen a lot of people help.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot of turmoil that's been used here in the off season for Hars, unfortunately. And I'm not saying he's the answer, but I feel like we got a good coach right now, and I would hate to see us run him off and then him go to a program and beat us down the road and build up a program given enough time, and us just not giving a fair amount of chance for him to actually build it up. I really do think he's got things going good for the future, and he said that from day one. He's coming in not to, for long-term success. And he sees that he's got to balance out the classes at certain positions that weren't balanced out. And that takes time. People want him to win initially and win immediately, like Lincoln Riley's doing out there in USC. That's just not normal, though. That's not how you come in and build a stable program. Like Lane Kiffin's done it at Ole Miss past couple of years. But I'm just wondering how really good you can actually get a program doing that, patchworking it every year with new players at specific key positions. I think the long-term stability that Hart's is talking about, getting them as freshmen and trying to keep them all the way through their 4-year career, when you can get the players that you want and the mindset and the type of players you need, it takes time, because you can't rebuild an offensive line in a year and a half. Now, I will say this, had he been given opportunity and proper support in the offseason, there's no telling if he could have got a really just awesome offensive tackle and guard through the transfer portal. But he didn't have the support in the offseason when they're available players. And people are upset why he didn't sign them. Like, people keep blaming him for it, but they're not looking at the big picture. Why is he not? Look how he's getting bashed from left and right. You have to have fan support, administration support. You got to have NIL nowadays. You have to have all these things come together to get these top-notch players. And if you're not in cahoots in all three areas, you're going to struggle. So people keep wondering why he's struggling. These are not issues that he's been able to control. He's taking the hand and he's trying to do the best he's been dealt with. And people they don't see the big picture. And I don't know if it's just random fans who are just voicing their opinion loudly, who don't understand the big thing. And I know it's not just that, because I've seen some people on here tonight who know what they're talking about football-wise. But I don't understand if people aren't just seeing the big picture, because it's, like I said, it's his second season with not the starting quarterback. Just initially off that alone, that's hard for any team to win like that. He's rebuilding the program. Anyway, I won't keep you on too long, man.
I got one more question for you from the actual chat here. Want me to ask you? Where is it? Right here. I don't think this is going to be the case, but yes, are you related to Ryan Shoemaker, our former punter?
No, but I sure was rooting for him when he was at Auburn.
He wanted me to ask you that.
If they had the jerseys back then, I definitely would have had an R Shoemaker jersey.
Listen, Shoemaker's one of those names I've seen a lot, so I didn't even think to ask that, but it was a question I wanted to honor from the thing, specifically to you. So anyway, thank you for your perspectives tonight, Russell.
Yeah, it's not a very common name, so I think we're all kin down the line anyway.
Probably
we're all different brothers and sisters from a different mother. We're all kin down the line.
Somewhere it all connects.
Yeah. Thank you for taking my call, Kyle, and I hope to see you at an Auburn game so I can pay my funds in person. I'm a cash guy.
No, don't worry about that.
But yeah, we love the show, man, and everybody out there, thumbs up for Kyle. He's doing a great job, and we appreciate you, and God bless all. War Eagle.
War Eagle. Thank you, sir. All right, that'll be the last call we're able to take tonight. We're going to wind things down here. If you got some last-minute comments or questions that you'd like to address, we've actually hit more basketball than I thought we would hit tonight, which is great. We even talked a little bit of baseball. I even threw soccer in there. What the heck? It was a very more well-rounded night than I thought it would be. We went a little bit longer in time. Again, let me stress this before I give you kind of my boilerplate stuff at the end. No preview show tomorrow night. Now, I have an idea that I may be able to put a video going live at 8 p.m. I don't know if I'll have it ready. I'm going to try to. So there may be something for you at 8 o'clock to check out, but no live show. My apologies. It is not because I'm dreading the Georgia game. It is simply because I will be traveling. And there was a possibility I could do it on location from where I was, but I don't know that that's going to be appropriate for me to do that just because of time constraints and things like that. So nothing tomorrow. We will be doing in studio post-game show right after the game ends. Be here or be square. We will probably be discussing maybe a surprising Auburn win, but if it's not, there's going to be a lot of discussion being had about the future of Auburn football program. So we'll try to keep that in perspective as well. Also, check out the links in the description for ways that you can help support the content here. Please do check all that out. If you haven't, you can be a Booster Club member, patreon.com/E2C Network. You can also become a channel member here by hitting that join button down below. It's all it takes. You can just keep it here on YouTube. There's a thanks button, the T Public store. Don't have to do any of that, though, unless you just want to, and is very much appreciated. But it's also appreciated by you being here, smashing that like button, and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. We had some good conversations tonight. Not always seeing eye to eye, but I appreciate the variety of people that come here and want to talk about these different things. Let's let's see here. I can't believe people say that the only reason the recruit doesn't commit is because the coach didn't try hard enough or was good enough to land them. That is a horrible take. I am sure that scenario has happened before with just sheer numbers, right? The number of recruits that are out there. The rate that people are suggesting it happens, though, that's a negative. That's just someone who wants their narrative to exist and is using it to further it. Talking about Harson's coordinators. Is that what we're talking about? I can't really, not putting that together in there. Sometimes it's hard to keep y'all's conversations together. Jack's last thing. Keyshawn Schmedding could be good coordinators, but the problem is they don't know the SEC at all. Keep the head coach. Sometimes the players come for the coordinators, not the SEC. I would disagree with you a little bit there. And there's one of those site bots again, right at the end. It's like they wait. I know they hear me talking about them because they're obviously watching to start posting those things, and they wait to those specific moments or when I talk about them to do it again. You're lowlifes. You really are. But just to this comment to kind of round out our conversation tonight. I don't know that I agree, simply because they haven't been the SEC. Of course, they don't know the SEC. They've only been here for a year and a half. That doesn't mean that's necessarily the problem. It could be as simple as we were discussing earlier with Russell. Everybody needs time to get to that point in a complete changeover. So we'll see. Anyway, we hit a lot of topics tonight. Excuse me. Thank y'all so much for being here. Check out our friends at allthingsauburn.net. Please do help support us by supporting them. You guys continue to be the best little family within the Auburn family. Even though we will not have a show tomorrow night and we won't be on campus because there's an away game, stay tuned throughout the week and weekend with us on social media for discussions about all things Auburn, like our friends at allthingsauburn.net. Thank you guys so much for being here. Until we talk to you again. More